start the recording. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Yelena, and I'm going to be your Cognos Analytics System Administrator. And tonight, the purpose of tonight's session is to help you get started with using an application. We're going to have 2 sessions. This is the first session. So there'll be a lot of materials covered tonight. So, but please keep in mind that you will need to watch this recording more than once. Trust me, you will need to watch the recording of this session more than once because it's a lot of material and it's going to take a little bit of time to absorb some practice. All right. So here is the agenda. I'm going to start by showing you how to access your Cognos Analytics account. And we're going to talk about the interface. We're going to talk about data modules, data preparation, data exploration, right? And there is also a short videos playlist that I created for you, and the link might already be in the classroom, okay? And there will be some time for questions and answers, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. You might be wondering what's Cognos Analytics, right? Well, it's a self-service and it has a very intuitive interface. So without writing any Python code, without writing any R code or Java code, I can just put my data in and it will extract the relationships inside the data for me. Without writing any code, I just get questions answered, sort of like a natural language questions and answers, if you will. You can drag and drop the data in a canvas and get your questions answered this way. The system is going to recommend you some related visualizations based on what you are looking at, okay? Now, and you may also build interactive dashboards and stories. Dashboards and stories will be the topic of the second sessions. And also, you can do reporting, but we're not going to cover reporting in this course, but just keep in mind it can be done. Now, few things what not to do. You want to avoid using browser back button because it may result to lose work, right? You may end up losing work. Remember that you cannot undo the deletion. So unlike in your PC, there is no recycle bin. Once you delete something, it's gone. Now, here is the problem. If you delete the data, right? If you delete the data, anything that you created from that data, any visualizations where data is used as a source, they become invalid, and this is permanent. So just be careful with that. Another thing is that you're going to be working, it's a remote machine, remote system where you're going to log in. We cannot copy paste the text from the PC directly. You have to use a Clipboard tool, and I'll show you. And you always remember to save your work, okay? And this is important. You start working on assignment early, because if you wait until last minute, things stop working. You know what happens, right? Okay, so now I'm going to show you what you need to do. Is that, well, I use the Google Chrome browser. It's my preferred one for this, but okay, so now you put this, see, this is a vgi.umgc.edu. This is a site, and instructions are also in the classroom, right? So then what you need to do is you're gonna log in the same way as that you use to access Leo, right? This is a single sign-on system. So you're gonna take your Leo email, right? And here at this step, this is your university password, right? So here at this step only, right? This is your university password, okay? Now you're going to sign in, and that will take you to the district workspace. One thing to note that if you are logged into Leo or your student email in another tab, you might not need to enter your SSO password. Sometimes it will not ask you for the password if you already logged into another university system in another tab. Okay, just keep in mind. Now, next step is going to be Cognos application itself, right? So this is what you will see. And here, this is the shortcut. It's IBM Cognos. You can access it from here, or you can also access it from data program. You're going to click here, and this will launch the browser that will be Google Chrome that gets opened. It will be inside the VDA. It's a virtual machine, in other words. You're not running it on your local PC. You're connecting to another environment. and it says touch in Google Chrome, so it takes a few seconds sometimes. Now what you will see is you're gonna see the Cognos login screen, right? You're gonna see the Cognos login screen. And let me show you on a slide how to, so you're gonna do step right now, right? What you will do here is that your user ID is your university username. So that's a part of your student email, but without add student dot, it's a first part, right? Your university username is the first part of your email. This is what you're gonna put in a user ID. And this is a password. So how did I come up with this password? The password must contain a number. It must contain an uppercase letter, right? And a special character. So what I did is I took the word welcome and I put the first letter in the uppercase. Now notice that number 3 on the keyboard is located right above letter E. So I replaced letter E with number 3 and it gave me this nice, give me welcome. So your password is gonna be welcome and your login name is university username, right? So after this session, you want to test if you are able to access your accounts because all accounts were created 1 week ago by me, okay? So, but for me here, instead, I'm not gonna use my admin account. I have a separate account that I created for this demo session, okay? This is what I'm using now. Okay, because you might be wondering, she types the word demo, but she told us to use our own. I instructed you to use your student right ID, but here I'm typing the word demo. Well, that's because it's a separate account for the demo. Okay. Now, when you access your account, this is what you're gonna see because this account, demo account, has the same permissions as your account. All right. So this is what you're gonna see. This piece here, this is called the canvas, and what shows in here depends on what screen you have open, right? Over here on the left, you have several things going on: home, search, my content, team content, and recent. My content is going to be the files that you created. Nobody else can access that besides you. You are the only person who can access what's located in your content, right? Like, for example, this is the data that I have, right? That's the data we're gonna use today. So this is my content. Nobody can access besides me. Team content, well, it contains few things in here. This one, template, sample, get started, and calendars. This stuff is pre-installed, okay? And this folder, data 16 data for assignments, this is what I set up for you. So today, after this session, when you try accessing your account, you want to do a few things. First of all, number 1, you can log in, right? Number 2, make sure the team content is not blank, that you're able to see this. If you're not, this is no brainer. It's very easy to fix. You submit the ticket and I'll take care of it. Submit the Salesforce case and it will be taken care of. This is a no-brainer, easy for me to fix, so trust me, okay? But you make sure that you see these folders in the team content, because as early as now, you have an assignment. Your first assignment is to submit a proof that you're able to access and you're asked to do a little bit of work, right? And I'll show you. But here, recent will show what you recently opened, and you can clear recent. This is what you recently viewed. It will show here, and it will also show here. Okay, now, few more things. So my content, right? Team content. In the team content, this is the data for assignments. Inside that folder, I put this like this. See, this is an assignment getting started. This is what you have due next week, right? Assignment 2, and etc. But you need to complete this assignment in order to unlock assignment 2. But I'll tell you that don't wait until the last day. Complete it now. So that way you win in yourself more time for assignment 2. So how to get more time for assignment 2? Get this getting started assignment early. And as soon as you submit it, you will unlock the assignment 2. It's done like this for a reason, okay? Because you have to complete this assignment. So you're gonna open it here. This is a data set, right? What you will need to do is, remember, this is the team folder. You cannot write into the team folder, right? You can only read, or you can make a copy. So what you'll do is this. You're instructed to make a copy of this data. You click here, then you're gonna select a copy or move, right? Copy or move. And then here, it shows you the location where you are right now. You need to select my content, right? And you're gonna copy it to my content. Now, suppose that I made a mistake. If I select move to instead of copy to, I'm gonna get an error. And I'm gonna get an error because moving means that you're removing file from the folder, right? You don't have a write permission for that folder. This is a shared team folder, right? So you have to do copy and move, then you select your content, right? And then you're gonna do copy too. You are making a copy, so it's independent from this copy, okay? Now, for the first assignment, you're working from the data set. In the next assignment, you'll be asked to create data module, and I'll explain it to you shortly. So now remember the my content, right? The team content. Okay, let me see something in the chat. Okay, zoom out of the screen. You mean zoom out? It's too small. Okay, so I'm trying to. So you see it too small? Is it better? Is it better? Yes, okay, thank you. Well, maybe we may need to be adjusting the screen as we go because, well, you'll see now. Well, here, this is where you can search. So suppose that you have a lot of work, you've been working on stuff for a while, and I can do, see this? I type claims and weather, for example, and it's gonna give me, it's gonna find these files for me. But assumption is that I have access to these files, right? As you're working on stuff, you're gonna have more, you're gonna have the whole thing filled up, right? So sometimes you don't remember where exactly you saved. You have a bunch of folders, subfolders, right? So this is helpful to find the file. And you also got a bunch of filters, right? So for example, if you're searching and you know you're searching for the data, right? Or you know you're searching for your exploration, okay? Now, if you remember when you modified it, it may help as well, right? And etc. And same thing, this is my content. I can also search, I can filter my content. It will be important as you get more files, right? And suppose that I know that I made change today, right? And if I do that, it's gonna give me what I modified today, etc. Right? And that's basically what this is for. You can type keywords and search, and then you can clear filters. Now, another thing that you could do in your content is that you can create a folder. Like, for example, I can call it assignment 1, assignment 2, right? And I could save everything related to assignment 2 into that subfolder, right? I can do that if I want to. Now I have to close this. To close this, you just click here on this funnel. It will close this area. Now, let me go back to the slides. Well, okay, here we talked about this screen, right? Oh, I need to talk about this panel thing here. Okay, so now remember that I told you that we cannot do copy and paste, right? But at the top, you should have, oops, I think what happened was I zoom out maybe too much, but at the top, you should have the clipboard tool, right? So let's see, look at it. This is what it looks like in the slides. And you see this little slide out thing at the top, right? If I zoom back, I will see this. So this is where you would click, and you will open up this menu bar, and there is a little clipboard that you can use to copy and paste. You paste the text to the clipboard, and then paste to where you need to paste. Okay. Okay. So for some unknown reason, well, they may have made some updates, but for some unknown reason, I don't see it right now. It's okay. Now let's continue. Oh, it's in here. I see it now. It was covered by the WebEx thing. See this? See this here? You click on this, and this is where the clipboard tool is, okay? So sometimes if you have to copy and paste some stuff from your computer, you're gonna paste it here first, and then you're gonna paste where you need to paste. And this is for the text only, okay? Now, don't worry about the uploading files because it was done for you due to some permissions, okay? Now let's go back. So this is just the interface thing. Okay, now, well, I went over the sections of this screen, right? And this one, this is, you can change your preferences, but there is a limit to how much you can change due to permissions, right? Now, I outlined here the different areas that you will see. Now, next one, well, I showed you where to access the preloaded data. So that folder here is a data where is a folder where I uploaded the data for assignments, and I organized it for you. I put the folders like this. You might be wondering why assignments 3 and 4 are together, because you're gonna select the data set for assignment 3, and you will use the same data for assignment 4. 4 is a continuation of 3. Okay, but starting from assignment 3, you have data to choose from. There are at least like 5 or 6 data sets that you may select from. Whatever the data that you select for assignment 3, you'll continue to use it for assignment 4. Assignment 5 will be the group work, okay? It will be discussed more in depth later. Now, let's go back here. So we talked about this. Oops. But don't worry about the number of slides because I'm not going to be going this slide shortly. Okay, now, well, this is the data that we're going to look at the demo. The data tracks information on insurance claim. For instance, customer information such as country, state, then the coverage type for the car insurance, person's education, right, unemployment, and etc. And also monthly premium amount, etc. Right, and we use that information to sort of like estimate the car insurance claim, right? That's what the data is. But take a look in the slides. This is what's happening. You see this blank records over here? Do you see this? Those are the missing values, and we're going to talk about those too. In your data for assignment 2, you're going to have missing values as well, and you'll need to handle them, and we'll talk how to do that. Okay, now we're going to talk about differences between data set and data module. For the first assignment, the ones that due next week, you are using the data set. It means that you're using data as is. Data set is CSV or Excel file that was uploaded from the PC, right? That's what happened. I uploaded it for you to use. You cannot customize the data directly, right? You cannot see the data directly. You cannot add the calculations to it directly, right? But what you need to do is you will need to use it as a source. You can create a data module from data set, or you can do visualization straight from the data set, but you won't be able to define any filters or anything on the data set, right? And every time when you reuse the data set for visualizations, you will have to define your calculations all over again, right? You will have to define the calculation in the exploration or dashboard where you use the data set as a source. Is it efficient? No, right? It's not. So what I want to do instead is I want to create a data module, and I can customize the data. I can add filters. I can add calculations. I can add navigation paths. I can hide fields that I don't want my customer to see, right? Then the thing is, and you can also use the data module as a source for another data module. You can combine multiple data sources. We're not doing it in this course, but in general, you know that you can. And you may preview the data directly. But what you define in there, it can be reused by everywhere where you use the data module as a source. We want to define it once and use it multiple times, right? We don't want to keep on redefining the same filters each time when we use the data as a source, right? So this is more efficient. And what we're going to do now is we will create a data module. And as I mentioned, I have this data. Well, if I go to here in my content, right? So I have these claims, and weather data. Right now, this is an Excel file. I cannot preview it directly. So what I have to do is I click here and I'm going to create data module. And what this will do, it will create data module. Now let's take a look at this. What is this? Over here, I can see which file I used as a source. That's a file name. This is what I used as a source. And if I click on the file name, I make sure that I have grid selected here. This is my data, right? Now take a look at this. Do you see this? It says null. Null is a missing value. Remember, I showed you the screenshot of the data and some values were blank. So here, the blank are represented as null, all right? They're represented as null. What else do I see? Well, here are the columns, right? My data columns. Those are column names listed here. And also right here across. Row ID, a column name is grayed out because that column is hidden. In other words, the column exists, but when I start creating my visualizations, right, it won't, the column won't be available. It won't be visible. It's here. It can be used as part of the calculations or part of anything else, but it's hidden. When I do my visualizations, right, it won't be available. All right. So sometimes there could be a good reason, like personal identifying information such as names. You want to hide it from whoever is using the data. Sometimes you want to hide certain fields. So that makes sense, right? Now, another thing is that look at this. This little icon is different. The icon you see depends on a data type, right? See here, country, state, code, and state. It correctly identified that this is a location, right? Then it correctly identified the claim amount. If I click here on properties, I can see, well, here claims amount, it's a label or the way the column name displays. Here, I can check and uncheck. If I want to hide this, I would check, right? But I don't want to hide it, so I can uncheck. Usage column usage is a measure. Aggregate, aggregate means that if I was going to summarize the claim amount, what is it going to show? It's going to show the total, or is it going to show the average, or it's going to show the minimum or the maximum, right? And well, here there are no lookup reference values in this case, and data type is decimal. Screen tips, this is optional, but this is when I hover my mouse over it in a visualization. Sometimes I want to see something in here, right? So that's what it does. And comments, those are the internal descriptions. Sometimes, perhaps if it's a calculated column, you can add some description for yourself that you can look up later, right? And this is, again, this is the source. And see, this checkbox supports null values, right? Well, it's not checked in this case. But null means there could be missing value, right? Null means missing value, okay? Now, so this one, see, it recognizes it, that it's a date. And this one, it's a categorical one. If you can look at this, yes. Well, it's a by default, if I was going to visualize it, right? If I was going to summarize, it's gonna do the count distinct, right? So perhaps number of distinct employment statuses by education. I'm just giving an example, okay? Now, so here, those are the different properties that you have available, right? And I'm just, another very important step, and sometimes people forget to do that. And then if you got disconnected, you may end up losing your work. So do this. You always want to save it, right? So here it is. This is where you save it. And you're gonna do save, right? And now I'm gonna say it's claims and weather data module. Claims and weather data module. Data module, okay? I saved it. And then very important, I cannot save anything in the team folder. I have to put it in my content, right? I'm going to click save, okay? So this is your content. It does not matter if anyone else has a file with the same name because they have it in their area. You have it in your area, okay? So now we're gonna look at, sometimes I'm going with a slide, sometimes I'm not, so, okay. Now, oops, this is a date, this slide in here, yes, this is very important, and I'll tell you what's gonna happen. If you go back here, this is how you exit to the welcome page, right? If you go back in here, and if you go to my content, something stupid that people can do is this. If you delete this one, right? Then this data module will become damaged and invalid, and you can't repair it. Okay, so just remember, do not delete the data set, because you're gonna corrupt the data module. It will be invalid, okay? So now I'm in the welcome page, right? How do I go back to my data modules that I never closed? Do I use the browser back button? No. What do? I go here. See this? Here I have everything that is open. And if I did not save the latest change, you will see that little asterisk here next to the file name. It means my last change not saved, okay? Now, let's go back to here. I saved it. Next thing is this. I talked about the interface, right? We talked about the null values. We talked about the properties, okay? Well, we talked about this, right? And here I just spelled out a little bit what different data type means, and etc. Right? Comment is internal for you, and a screen tip is what you see if you hover your mouse over that field in visualizations. Okay. Now, what you will have to do for your assignment 2 is called data preparation. Data preparation involves adding filters, and there are two types of filters we'll talk about. You can hide certain columns from the view. You're going to edit properties. You're going to handle missing values. It's an important one. Then I'll show you how to add calculations and data groups and navigation paths. And I have more videos that go more in depth in the details on data groups and on the, there's some examples of calculations and on the filters. Okay, so now let's go back here. I already showed you how to hide the column, right? There are multiple ways. You can change it in the properties, like I did earlier, or you can just do this. Right click here and select hide from users. That's another way, okay? You can do it here, or you can go in the properties and you can click hide from users here. So there is more than one way to do this, okay? And also, if it's hidden, you can select show. Hiding a column has no impact on the calculations where that column is used. However, when you delete the column, then we have a problem. All calculations become invalid, and you can invalidate the visualizations as well, okay? Now, adding filters. Well, what is a filter? Filter specifies the condition that must be met to keep the rows, right? To define the filter, we have to build an expression, right? An expression consists of operators, and you use the column names and etc. You may use the logic such as case statements, if statements, right? Oh, wait a minute, didn't Yelena say that we don't need to write the code? Well, Yelena lied. Sometimes you have to write a little bit of code to define filters, but I'll show you how to make it easier a little bit. Now, there are two types of filters in the data module. The first type of filter is an embedded filter. This is a filter that is applied right away. I define it and it filters my data immediately, okay? Selectable filter is something I define and I can turn on and off. It's something that I can turn on and off in my visualizations. I have an option, right? So that's what it is. Embedded filters, selectable filters. Remember the difference, all right? And we're gonna go do an example of each. Okay, now let's do this. We're going to filter the rows that exclude. We want to filter the rows that were without the effective to date, right? So how do we do that? We want to make sure that the rows you want to make sure that the rows that you have, right, have effective to date not missing, right? So we need to build an expression for the filter. So this is what you're gonna do. And it's important on where you click, right? where you click is important in here. So this is a data set, right? This is a data. I'm gonna need to do this. Right click here, not this filter, but manage filters. This one, manage filters. This is a manage filters. And then I want to do, I don't want to use the column, right? I want to select via expression editor. So if I select expression editor, right, I can just do, it's much easier. I'll show you. You're gonna do view expression editor, right? And now you're gonna click on add filter. And this is an expression editor. Here, you're gonna put a filter name. The filter name, very important, the filter name must be descriptive. So if I just look at it, I need to know what it is, right? So let's say must have effective due date. That's what I call it here. Must have effective due date, right? What you see here, if I select this here, I'm gonna see the list of my columns in the data, right? The list of columns in my data. And here, those are the operators, right? So now, what do I need to say? I need to say effective due date, right? And if I don't see the field right away, I can type here, right? And I search for it, it's here. Now, I can type the field name or I can just do drag and drop, right? Effective due date. And what's supposed to happen to effective due date? Let's look at the functions. And I'm gonna go to the, it's in an operator, and it should be this one, is not missing. Is not, oops, is not missing. If I don't, I can type it here, right? And then I drag and drop. This one is not missing, or you can do is not null as well. Okay, effective due date is not missing. Now what I need to do? I always do this, I validate. Validation checks if you have correct syntax. If it's invalid, you're gonna see an error, right? Next, what we're gonna do, we must click OK, because if you close this window, you're not gonna save it. I'm gonna click OK. Now, remember that I showed you a few minutes ago, there were missing values, right? Let's click here, effective due date. Let's see what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna find my column named effective due date. And immediately the rows where effective due date is missing, they're supposed to be what? Gone, right? All rows where effective due date was missing, they are gone, okay? This is what embedded filter means. It got applied right away, okay? I cannot turn on and off. One thing I could do is just delete the filter, right? But I defined it, right? Let's keep it defined. So what did we just do? I handled missing values, right? And the way you handle missing values depends on situation, depends on how many values are missing, depends on how many columns are missing a value, right? In this case, just for my business rules, I decided, okay, everybody must have effective due date to be covered in this, right? So what I did is I just removed the rows with missing values for that column. But the problem is sometimes you may end up losing data. So sometimes if you have a column where most of the values are missing, you may decide to exclude the column or hide the column. Sometimes you may replace the missing value by the column average, and we're gonna do it later tonight too, right? You can do it this way. Or sometimes you can use a predefined value. And on a playlist, on the videos playlist, there is a video that I created to show you how to replace the missing value for categorical column with a predefined value. So there is an example on that, on the categorical. Okay, so now what we will do is I'm going to create the selectable filter first, and then I'll show you missing values. So what is a selectable filter? It's a filter that I can turn on and off, right? So let's say I want this. I want to say policy type is personal and vehicle size contains small, right? Vehicle size contains, so policy type is going to be personal and vehicle size contains the word small, right? And I want to say it's a personal coverage, personal policy for small vehicle. That's what I want to call this. So let's do this. I'm gonna go in here now, and this is my data module, right? I'm gonna do now this one. Okay, this is a selectable filter. All right, and what I'm gonna say is this. I'm gonna say this one. It's a policy, personal policy for small vehicle. Okay, personal policy. Personal policy for small vehicle. Right, so this is a filter. Now, I already have an expression that I built, right? And I want to copy and paste. So this is what I did. This is a PowerPoint, right? I go Control-C in here, or depending on the operating system you have, right? If you have Mac, I believe it's Command-C. I could be wrong, but okay, so I did that. Now what you need to do, this is a clipboard at the top, right? So you need to expand this thing. This is a clipboard. I'm gonna paste it here. Well, see this, it's a copy to the clipboard. And now when I go back here, I do another paste, okay? So I pasted it here. Now what I'm doing here, policy type is one of the column, right? This is one of the column. And I say it contains. Contains is an operator. So if I look at these functions, it's in an operator. I have contains somewhere. Oh, this is rather the string operator. So I can search for it here. It's gonna find it for me. See here. Well, this is an operator. Contains, and this is a string, right? Remember, this is a case sensitive. And see, if I have two conditions, I can put and. Vehicle size contains small. And this is okay. This expression has an error. Let me show you why. I see an error, but it's intentional. I wanted you to see. So where did I copy this from? PowerPoint, right? The problem with PowerPoint is that it can insert Microsoft Word quotes, right? So let's validate it. Let's see what happens. There's going to be an error, right? Well, it says here that expression is not valid. In this case, it's not valid because of this code. Okay, now I'm going to validate it again. When you copy paste stuff from the Word or PowerPoint, be careful because of the quotes, okay? Now, I fixed it, right? What do I need to do next? I have to save it. I have to click OK, right? Now, so I want personal policy type, and I want to look only at the small vehicle. Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna look at my vehicles, and it did not get filtered to small. I see medium size. How come? Didn't I just say small vehicle type? It did not get filtered. Do you know why? Because it's a selectable filter. I need to explicitly apply this filter to my visualization. And the selectable filter will appear here, right? It will look as if it's a column, but it's not. This is a filter. And at any time when I need to edit this, I'm going to click on edit filter, and it will take me back to this editor. But I have to be only in the data module. I cannot edit this filter if I'm in data explorations that we're going to create shortly. Okay. Now, so this is a selectable filter here, right? So the next thing is that we started covering the topic of missing values, right? We have a column called income, and the income is the income column. It has some missing values, but I don't want to delete the rows where income is missing. What I want to do instead is that I want to populate it with average, column average, right? So here is another expression. If income is missing, then we're going to select the average, set it to the average. Otherwise, we're going to keep it as is. So let's do that. I have to go back and I have to find my column, right? I'm going to type income. This is the income. I'm going to click on the properties, and this is an expression. I'm going to edit the expression for the column itself. And in here, I'm going to have to do the construct. Well, I can copy and paste from the presentation, but also take a look at this. I want to show you where that is. it's this one. If then else, I just drag and drop, right? If condition, what is the condition here? If income, condition is this, income is missing, right? This is a condition. Okay, then I want to do something. Otherwise, I want to keep it as is, right? It was here, income. I want to keep it as is. But then what are we gonna do now in here? We're gonna do average, right? So this is a summary, and the average is in the summary. Expression is gonna be average, right? Oops, it did not get, sometimes you have to be patient. See this when you drag and drop, right? Here it is, average. And I'm gonna delete this part, average. And what's average? Income, right? Because I'm looking at the income column, income. Okay, yeah, so this is the average. Now what I'm going to do, always have to validate. This is valid, but another thing I can do is this. Well, I think it's this, prettify. It will format the code for you. It will indent it. It's much easier to read, okay? Now I'm gonna validate it again. There we go. Now what I'll do is I have to save it, right? I did not rename it because it's the same column. I just edited the expression for the column, okay? Well, there we go. So now it's supposed to set that one here was missing, and now it looks like it's a column average. I could go even further. I can round it if I wanted to, right? Okay, so, well, and this is what I did now for numeric. There is a video on how to handle the categoric one, where I can say if it's missing, then I want to set some type of predefined value. Okay, there is a video on how to do that. Now here, you looked at that, right? Okay, now, well, you can, now we're gonna create a new data exploration from data module. In your first assignment, you're gonna be creating it from the data. This one, starting from the second assignment, you'll be creating it from data module. Let's close this. See this little asterisk? It means that I did not save. Okay, now I'm saved. To close this, I expand this here and I click on X. But before you do that, you have to save. If you don't save, you're gonna get a warning, I believe. Okay? Well, now I'm here. This is the welcome page. There are several ways to create a data module, but I have to go to the My Content and several ways to create an exploration, sorry. See this, I can do here and I can select create exploration. I can do that. Also, see this, it now appears in the recent because this is what I had recently opened, right? Well, either way, you have to click on this menu and you're gonna do create not data module, but you're gonna do create exploration this time. Well, and the reason you saw the data module option is because you can create a data module from the data module. It's a little bit complicated, right? Now, well, here, this is a situation where zooming could be a challenge. Well, I'll have to scroll, but let's see what happens in here. This is a new exploration. And what I'm doing in here, this is a list of columns. And this is something similar to what we just saw in data module, right? Well, what is this? Personal policy for small vehicle, right? But suppose that it did not use a descriptive name. There is no way in the world to know what it is. No way to know how I define this without going back to data module. So this is the reason you have to have descriptive name, or there is no way for you to remember tomorrow what you did today, right? You won't be able to know. You would have to go back to data module and to check the expression. We don't want this, right? We want to do as less as possible. Well, we want to be efficient, right? If you will, okay? Now here, you're gonna see filters and any calculations that you created in the data modules, they will appear here. You're not gonna see the embedded filter, just the selectable filter, because this is something that you can turn on and off when you do visualizations. In here, sorry if I have to play with the zoom again, but what this will do is remember when you uploaded the data was analyzed for relationships. This will list the potential targets. Target is a column that it thinks that I want to predict. For some reason, and this is correct, Cognos believes that I want to estimate the total claim amount, right? And the amount housekeeping side here, take a look at this panel with column names. I can close it. So that way I can see of this more. And you will need to play around with the zoom buttons. Trust me, you will need to play around with zoom in, zoom out as you're working on it. But, well, what is this here? The list of columns that it thinks I might want to go about with predicting, right? Total claim amount is a worst choice, right? So I would probably want to stick with the total claim amount. Here, each column that it identifies that it believes could be related with total claim amount is represented as a little pin, okay? Dark pin means it's a target. That's what I want to predict, total claim amount. Those are the independent, well, those ones, those are the predictors. And if you see the line between predictor here, it means that there is a relationship between this predictor marital status and total claim amount. The thickness of the line tells the strength of the relationship. See, this is like, for example, here, total claim amount and employment status. I just hover over the line and it tells me the relationship strength is 50%, right? So what is important here is that how strong is the relationship, because if it's below 10%, I believe it gets dropped. If it's below certain threshold, it gets dropped. Okay, so you ask some questions about the diagram like this in your assignment, right? So there are a few things to remember here, right? So this is a target, and what you can do when you click here, look what you're gonna see. It's gonna give me suggested visualizations, right? Well, but do you see the problem here? Total claim amount, it believes that I want to look at the overall sum. So this is a sum of all claims. That's not what I want, right? So what we want to do for this is this. See, you want to find this total claim amount, and you're gonna go change the properties. But I should have done it. I should have done it in the data module, because if I don't, I will have to do it everywhere where I use this data module as a source. So this I want to adjust. I want to show the average. So whenever visualization I do, I want to show the average claim, and here too, right? Well, here it shows me what visualizations I might be interested in, right? So those are, what do you call this, initial suggestion, if you will, right? So here, for example, I can see total claim amount by employment status. And what I do, see this? This is, if I click on this plus sign, this visualization will be added to my exploration workbook. Each visualization is called a card, right? Well, that's what it means. It's adding this visualization. And I can add this one, right? Because this is a driver analysis model, and I'll show you what it is, okay? Then I can click on see more, and it's gonna give me more. Well, I can just keep on doing that, right? Anyways, so that's what it is. I showed you the relationship diagram, and here I can take different approaches. I can do in different order here when I look at the data exploration. So first of all, see this? I selected this total claim amount by employment status. I want to look at my exploration and double click here. Well, I added this as a card, right? Well, I can see this, look. I'm looking at the details, and it's gonna give me how to interpret this. The average total claim amount for employment, for all values of employment status is this, right? Then it's gonna give me the averages per employment status. Here are some key observations that it found for me, right? Now here, data slots. What is this? It tells me which column I used for a bar, right? And which column I used for the bar length. So if I'm unhappy with this, I can always change it, right? And to change it, suppose that I want to do, instead of employment status, I want to do the state code, right? Just an example. So what I'll do in here, I'm going to remove this column and I'm going to do the drag and drop the state code here into the bars. So this is a state code, right? Now, well, suppose that what I want to do is I want to turn on my filter. See this personal policy type for small vehicle? I can go to the filters in here and I can drag and drop this to the local filters. Now what it will do, it will limit my data to personal policy type for small vehicle. So this filter is selectable. So it applies only when I want it to apply. I can turn it on or I can turn it off, right? To turn it off, I'll just delete it from here. Okay, so, well, I hope it makes sense. Selectable filter is what you can choose to use. And embedded is what's applied right away. So, well, this is an interface in here. Data slots, if the data slot has an asterisk next to it, it means that you have to specify the column. Otherwise, you won't be able to see visualization. So you have to specify what you use for a bar, and you have to specify what you use for the bar lengths at least. Now in here, well, there is an option to add a new card. There is also an option, see this? You can see related. Based on what you're looking at, it's suggesting you something else that you might be interested in, such as claims amount by marital status. And if you're interested, you just add this, click on a plus sign and it's going to add this for you, right? What you could also do is you could add visualization from scratch. And I'm going to do this new add single. I'm going to do choose the visualization type. And I'm going to do this one, the spiral model. Spiral model, see this? Okay. Well, now, well, it's empty. Why is it empty? Because I never specified the target. And target is required. I have to specify what I'm looking at. And in this case, I want the total claim amount. I want to do that. This is my target. What is this? Well, this is called the bullseye, right? And each little dot in here, it represents a predictor or combination of columns that are used as a predictor. Well, you have the one driver, two drivers, and combination of drivers. Well, I can just do this, right? If I want to see only one-way driver, and well, this is important. I'll tell you what's important is that you want to look at the driver with the highest strength, because later on, when we build the decision tree model, the driver with the highest strength is going to be used as a first split for the tree, okay? So we want to make sure that we pay attention to this. Now, two drivers, it means a combination of fields that sort of like determine what a total claim amount is. And then I have a combination, right? Sometimes multiple fields. Vehicle class, employment status, those guys drive what this is going to be, right? What total claim amount is going to be. But here, well, I cannot do the actual visualizations any further, right? And anything that has a strength less than 10% is dropped. It's only going to show me what has a predictive strength more than 10%, okay? Well, this is, you can also call it bullseye diagram or something like that. Notice that if you look at the cards, what else I did here? Well, this is the total claim amount driver analysis. So this is, you can look at it as a total claim amount, right? As this guy here, sliced. Well, if you slice it, this is what you see. Well, in here, let's see, I have to do a little bit of zoom in. I can close this panel here. It's much easier to see, right? Similar to what you saw at the spiral model, every dot is a driver, right? Or a combination of drivers. The closer it is to the right, the stronger it is a predictor. So when I click on the one-way driver, well, see this is a one-way driver. It's going to give me the visualization for that. So I see total claim amount, and I see the values of that column that I'm looking at. And what I could do is I could add this card to my collection of cards. See, this are my cards in this exploration workbook, right? I can add this. Now I can click on a two-way driver. This is another visualization, right? It's going to show me total claim amount. Color code stands for the total claim amount. And I also have the two columns that are the drivers, right? Total claim amount by claim amount and number of policies, right? That's what it does. Two-way driver and etc. But here, this is the multiple fields. If I have multiple fields, I'm going to get what? Decision tree, right? I'm going to get a decision tree. I can add this as a card, or I can also add new visualization and select decision tree as a type, right? So I can do this. I can go new single card, choose type, and I can do my decision tree. Well, this is important part for assignment 3. You have to build the decision tree, right? So now what's going on? It's because I did not specify what I want to predict. Total claims amount, right? It's going to be the target, what I want to predict. And what did I say, guys? Well, if you remember the spiral diagram, when I looked at this here, when I looked at the spiral diagram here, and when I looked at the one-way drivers only, the blue ones, vehicle class had the highest predictive strength, right? So you look at the highest, the driver that has the highest predictive strength, it's going to be used as a first splitting column for the decision tree. So here is my decision tree, right? Here are a few things that you need to learn how to read this, and I'll show you how to read this tree. Close this. Okay, now, well, there are different things going on. The tree consists of nodes, and you can collapse and expand, right? I'm collapsing it now. So what I'm doing here is that I'm starting from the root node, right? So this is the root node, and the root node represents all data, right? So this is all data. Well, if I hover, it's gonna tell me, it should tell me how many records I have here, right? Well, it doesn't, but it should. Okay, now, so this is here, this is a vehicle class. I'm using it as a first split. So I'm gonna say, okay, if my vehicle class is this, luxury or SUV, etc., I'm gonna take this path. So this is a branch that I'm gonna take. Here, it's gonna give me average claim amount for these types of cars, standard deviation, and etc. Now it's gonna look at how many rows fall into this category, right? Well, if it's large enough, if it's, I believe you cannot have less than it's 25, something like that, yes. Well, there is a limit on number of nodes too, and I listed in the slide. Okay, so here, vehicle class, I'm gonna be taking a path depending on what my vehicle class is, right? So perhaps if I'm a two-door car, right? It's an average claim amount for two-door cars. But am I done? Probably not, right? So let's collapse this. I can click on this to expand this. Well, and it's gonna tell me the next column that it's gonna look at is the, oops, see this? It's gonna look at the employment status in the next column, right? Well, if it's employees, I take one pass. If it's medical leave, I take another pass, right? So this is employed. Next one, I'm gonna look at the maximum premium outer. Well, then I'm gonna look at the vehicle size, and I continue until I reach the what leaf node, right? Then the color code at the leaf node tells me the approximate total claim amount. Well, this is how you use it. You traverse the tree starting from the root to the leaf node. This is called the leaf node, and you traverse this tree. Okay. So you use that to sort of like kind of like set up the rules, right? So suppose that I have a brand new claim. How would I predict? How would I use this model to predict the claim amount? I would probably go through this tree and I traverse it and see at which leaf node I end up, right? So that's one way. Then you've got the rules in here, a predicted value. You can sort this by predicted value, but these types of vehicles here, these types of vehicles have the highest claim amount. But take a look at this. How many are in here? This is less than 1% of my data, right? Then I'll keep on looking through. And I believe some of this, well, this here, this vehicle class is a bigger percentage of my data, right? Like 30% of my data, and etc. Right? I can look at the rules. I can say, okay, here, if the car meets this criteria, then this is a predicted value. Okay, this is how you read the rule. It's like a profile of drivers, cars, coverage, right, in the average for that specific asset. Well, you can look at the diagram and you look at the rules. Now, another thing is a sunburst. Sunburst diagram shows the percentage of data to which the rule applies. Like if I collapse it, well, in the videos that I put together for you, I'm looking at these two diagrams at the same time, at the tree and at the sunburst. Well, look at this. What I did was I collapsed this, right? I collapsed my decision tree. The only thing that is expanded is the first one, first split, two-door car, SUV, and luxury. When I go to my sunburst, see this? I have 3 slices in here, and I see vast majority of my vehicles are what? Two-door cars, right? So, well, sometimes I want to look at the rules that describe most of my data, which is this, right? This is a dominant. I can click here, and what this will do is I'm expanding it further. See this? If I look at the tree diagram, this is what I'm looking at here right now. But I want to collapse, right? I want to look at just the employment, right? If I go back in here, this is well, this is here. It's telling me this. I have two-door cars, right? So this section, whole section is a two-door cars, and it's further split into unemployed, medical leave, and employed. I can click on the slice, right? When I click on this, I'm gonna see this. Well, I'm gonna see the average total claim amount, right? And those are the conditions for the slice. Is this employed? Well, what it does is that it says if the employment status is employed, and also it's a two-car door, right? Then this is what you have, the average claim amount. But here, in addition to just seeing the average, you see the portion of data to which the rule applies to, right? But another thing not to overlook is that if the rule is not frequent, it does not mean it's not important. Sometimes you want to look at which cars has a huge claim amount, right? Or perhaps it could be like very, very, very unusually big value or outlier, if you will, right? So you can see which values only a few cars have. And you can look at the rules, right, to identify those. Okay. And here, of course, you've got the related visualizations, well, etc. And then you click on the see, you can click on the see more, right? Those are the related. Another thing that you can do is this. Here it shows you which data is being visualized. It's a data from data modules that is being visualized, okay? So, well, here is this decision tree. And another thing is that I have to show you this. Look, here, these are my fields, right? What you'll have to do is for assignment 3, you have to build a model, the same target, but you can use a different set of predictors. What you do is this. You can click here and you can do edit drivers. When you edit drivers, you can include or exclude some column from analysis. Well, in my case, I want to exclude the, remember this is the country, right? If it's not excluded already, it is. I want to exclude the claim amount probably because I have a total claim amount, right? We don't want this to be, you know, claim amount, right? So I uncheck it. I want to exclude it from analysis and I want to click on OK, and it's going to redo this for me. Okay. Well, you have to look at the data and decide what you want to include, exclude, and you have to have a good explanation. All right. So if you have two columns that are not, that could be dependent from each other, right? Like for example, date of birth and age, right? you probably want to stick with an age for analysis, unless you're doing something specific with date of birth. Okay. I forgot to do something very important. And what did I forget to do? And nobody reminded me. I have to save the work. Always save the work, right? So let's say cars and weather, and I'm gonna call this exploration. Okay. Well, so I covered the decision trees. Sometimes I cover things in a different order here. Now, what else? I mean, need to. Well, there are multiple ways to add visualizations, right? I showed you how to. We looked at this little network diagram, right? We looked at the diagram in the beginning, and you can just click on a column, right? And that's how you did. And it gave you the set of suggested visualizations. That's what I did, right? I did the suggested visualization. What else you could do is this. I can do new, right? This is a new card. Now what I could do? Well, this is a list of my columns in the data. I can just drag and drop the column here, and it's gonna do a visualization for me. It just listed coverage types for me, okay? Well, and then I could also do, if I drag claim amount on top of it, it's gonna do the average. Well, see this is a problem. It did the sum instead of average. See this, it's gonna do column amount based on a coverage type. But the problem is I don't want the sum, right? Well, I can fix it. But if I fix it here, it will be fixed only for this specific visualization, right? It will be fixed only for this visualization. I'm not fixing it for across the board, you know. Well, okay, this is gonna show the average claim amount based on the coverage type, right? Notice that there is no way to change colors here. I cannot change my titles, right? Because this part will be covered in the next session. This is not available for exploration. We cannot adjust the fonts and colors in the explorations, okay? All right, so here I see this little asterisk again because I did not save the last change. Well, do you see this interesting thing, ask question? You also see it here, right? Well, you can use this guide to do visualizations too. Well, ask questions. I can say, first of all, you need to know what to ask about, right? So if I type show data, it will tell me which data I have available for me. Second, I just click on this data. Well, doing what I just did is equivalent to running this command. You type in show source, then you put the name of the data module that you're looking at. Well, and what that will do is that it will give you the list of columns in the data, and it will give you information about the columns. Well, if it has an outlier, right? Outlier is significantly large, value significantly small. Like, for example, assignment 1, suppose that everybody got a grade around 80. And if you have one person who got only 10%, that person is an outlier, unusually small number, right? Well, it's always gonna show you how much values repeat, right? And etc. Well, so this one here also shows the data type. Well, if it's an identifier, it means it has a certain number of valid values. Okay. Now you click on more, and you can see all of these columns here. What else you can do? Well, I can click on a column name, and it's gonna give me details for that specific column. And clicking on the column name, it's equivalent to running this command, show column number of policies, right? So here is my column. Well, it gives me that it's usage aggregation. It means that if I want to do the summary, it's going to do the sum. Data type is long, and concept, well, it shows that it's categorical, it has an outlier, right, etc. Now, here, those are the fields that could be related to number of policies, right? Well, those are the related fields. And also, you can look at what influences that column, what influences number of policies, right? I'm going to click, see this? This shows what influences claim amount and reasons. And when I click here to see the details, it's going to give me the plot. It's going to give me a plot of the reason and here, claim amount. Actually, there is more than one plot to choose from. See this? I can choose. Well, see this? I can choose visualizations that I want to add. And what I could do is here, I can do new, right? And I can drag and drop this here. It's going to be my new visualizations. If I want to, I can do that, no problem, right? Okay. Well, this is another way to add visualizations. And also, well, see the show related visualizations, right? Well, this is assistant. This is my commands that I run. And what this will do is it will save them in the history. This is a command history. And this is available if you create more than one exploration workbook. The history, what you do here is available when you open another exploration workbook, unless you erase it, right? There is this one will reset the history. If I click on this, it's gonna remove everything from the history of commands. And if I want to rerun the command that I already ran, I can just find it and I can just click on it and it will rerun this command. Click on this and click enter. It will rerun this command that I did, okay? Well, let's see where we are. I go here in a different order because you can cover things differently here. Well, I showed you related visualization, right? When you select the card, there is a set of cards that you might be interested in. Colors, you don't specify the color, it's selected for you, okay? So it's a lot of drag and drops in here, different visualization types, right? Relationship diagram, sometimes if you select more than one field, then it's gonna give you the diagram that shows it. It's gonna give you suggested visualizations, will be the diagrams that could show relationships among the fields that you selected, right? So whatever suggested is, it depends, based on what I selected. So I'm gonna go in here. This is a set of my cards, and this is a card that was initially open, right? Well, depending on what I select here, I can click and I can click again. I can select more than one column. Well, if I click on Control button, right, or whatever it is, I'm not sure what it is on Mac, but if I select this too, it's gonna give me visualizations that might show relationship between these two. Okay, so depending on what I select here, the suggested things here, they may change. Okay, now I did that. So let's go back. Okay, I did that stuff. Well, here, well, this is just to, I showed you, you select field and it shows you really suggestions based on the field that you select. Well, this guy here, the embedded assistant, and it's available in exploration. Also, you will see it in displays and the stories that we're gonna do in the next session, okay? I showed you commands history, you can clear it, right? Etc. Here, well, this is the command you ran and you can rerun it. Then the column names that get displayed, they are clickable and you can get more information for each column. And this is what we showed. Well, here you also do this, well, you can type show column. If you do that, it's gonna give you the list of data sets that have that column and lets you choose what to look at. In this case, this is monthly premium auto. I can also visualize this, right? I can click on it the way I did earlier, and I can see visualization, and I can drag visualization to one of my cards, right? I can add this. I can use it part of analysis, right? Now, well, here it just a column list of clickable column name, and you may this is something that you might use visualizations for your cardboards, okay? For your cards, sorry, cards. I was thinking about dashboards for next time. Okay, cards. And well, here, this is just showing you that you've got the visualization and you also have insights on the visualization, right? So you got that. And those are the different visualization, and visualizations have a little insight, and insight is written in a natural language. So basically what it's doing is that it's analyzing the data and it's pulling the insights in the English language, right? Well, so if you don't need to know how to read output from R perhaps or Python to get this, right? We save that fun for later, in later class. okay? Now, well, you can do the drill down in your visualization. You create hierarchy. Well, let me give you an example of the hierarchy that applies to data 610. You just did assignment 1, right? I can do an average grade for assignment 1, overall average, regardless of the session you're in. Or I can drill down and I can do average by session, right? So that's what is hierarchy. It's things that can be drilled through. Like, for example, you could have year, months, day, right? And then the hour within the day, and perhaps it could be second, something like that. It's a hierarchy. In this case, we can have a hierarchy with state and location code, right? So there are multiple ways to create hierarchy. You can create it in a data module, or you can create a hierarchy in exploration, but keep in mind it won't be available outside the exploration. But let's do that. I'm gonna go in here and I have navigation path. I'm gonna do this and I'm just gonna do it. I want to follow the same thing, state and location code. Well, I'm gonna do, where is my, if I don't see it right away, I can type the word state and it's gonna find it for me. So I'm gonna drag and drop state. And then I also want to use the location code, right? Location code. Here I'm using 2 levels. I have a video where I show you the hierarchy with 3 levels. Okay, so this is a hierarchy name. By default, it's going to take these names. Well, state and location code, I'm fine with it. So let's go in here. We're good. Now what we'll do is, yes, we're going to do create, well, I'm gonna create new visualization, and I'm going to do the heat map. What is that? Okay, so I need to find this is a heat map. I want to do that perhaps. Now what I'm gonna do? Well, I want to see the perhaps maybe I want to see the number of claims, maybe, and I want to see it by location, right? So perhaps, well, I want to do rows, and let me see. So here I can just drag and drop this, right? I can drag and drop this. And then, oh, I want, okay. And then what I want to do is for the heat, I want to show the average total claim amount, right? So I'm gonna go back in here and I'm gonna pull total claim amount. Let's see what happens now. Okay. Well, do you see this? I have several states: Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma, right? I have several states and I see the average claim amount by state. Notice I did not specify the column, but it's not required, right? So it still works. So this one is the total claim amount by state. I can click on the state, right? I can click on the state, right click, and see this here, drill down. When I drill down, it's going to give me by what? It's a location code. It's a location code within the state that I selected. And if I click here, the data being visualized, it's going to tell me that I selected the state Iowa, and this is a location code, and this is the average total claim amount for that location code in Iowa, okay? So this is what it is, and you have a video with 3 levels of hierarchy, okay? Hierarchy with 3 levels. Now, how do I go back? I have to right click here, and this is where you go back, okay? This is how you go back to this. Now let's save this, okay? This is a big session, but you have to watch this presentation more than once. This session is huge. Okay, here I use slightly different visualization, but the concept is the same, okay? The concept is the same. Now, well, next thing on the list is a calculation. Calculation is nothing but it's an expression that we can use in the values of existing column, right? If calculation creates new column and it populates a column. You can use perhaps predefined function, or it could be a summary of something, right? Well, just an example, I could have annual, there is a monthly premium, right? I can have create another column where I call it annual premium. which is going to be equal monthly premium times 12, right? I can do that. Or I can create a column that stores an average claim amount by state, perhaps, right? Well, let's see what we can do. Well, first of all, I'm going to close this, and I'm going to define the calculations in the data module. So here is my data module. I'm going to click here, reopen my data module, and I'm going to do create a calculation. So I'm here. I'm going to do this. You can do it this way. You can do new calculation, and it will open the calculation editor, right? So here I've got my monthly. Well, this is a monthly premium, right? So let's do this. And I want to do annual premium, right? I'm going to call it annual premium. And it's going to be monthly premium multiplied by what? 12, right? So that's what it is, right? Times 12. That's it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do validate. That's it. We're fine, right? You can also do a little preview. Well, this is just few rows, and it will give you monthly and annual. Oops. You would have to play with the zoom to see it, but you can preview few rows, right? Well, there's a lot you can do, right? So let me do, oh, it's here, see this? Yeah, so now what I'll do is I'm gonna click OK. Now let's do another one. I'm going to do the average, and I want to do the average total claim amount by state, let's say, right? Well, for each row in here, I want to have the average of the state. See this? So this is a column, right? In this column, you have Iowa. The average, it will show its average for Iowa, then average for in row 3 or this row, it's going to be average for Nebraska, etc. Let's do this. Let's create calculation. So I'm going to do the new calculation, and I'm going to say average total claim by state, right? Okay. Now what I'm gonna do, I have to use this one here, and I've got the summaries, and the summaries that I'm gonna use is an average, right? Now what I need to do is this average, average total claim amount, right? So I'm gonna go to my fields, and I'm gonna find this total claim amount. Oops, it's in here, right? It's total claim amount, but well, here I don't want the overall column average. I want this for, and this is gonna be for what? For the state, right? So let's see, state. If I don't see it right away, again, I type it here, and it's gonna find it for me. Well, I can do for state code, right? Okay, now let's see what's gonna happen. First, I'm gonna validate. Always do this. Now I'm gonna preview. Okay, well, this is a preview, and if I scroll, well, this shows, it's supposed to show me the state and average. See, this is average total claim for the state in the third column. See this? So column 3 is a state, and this is the average total claim for the state in column 3, right? And this is a claim amount for the specific row that we're looking at, right? So, well, now I'm going to do the save. Another thing to keep in mind is that there are 2 types of calculations. What we just looked at, it's an embedded calculation because it's stored as a column. Another type of calculation is standalone. If I want to create calculations such as average claim amount, like as a whole, right? I would have to create a standalone calculation, right? So I'll click here. I'm going to do the calculation, right? And this is going to be the standalone because it depends on where I clicked on. See, before I clicked here, now I clicked here, right? Calculation. I'm going to define it as average. This is a summary. I'm going to say this average, and average what? Let's see. I'm going to go to the fields, and I have to select something like, well, I can do this average, perhaps monthly outer premium, right? And I can, oops, yeah. Well, I'll show you what it is. It's taking the name of the Excel file worksheet. So, well, because here you're creating the standalone calculation, right? It's not stored as a column. What this is doing, it's a tab name. Well, except Excel files that was uploaded, it's a name of the tab, and this is a column name. So that's what it does. Let's see. I'm going to do validate. It's correct, and then I'll see a preview. There should be one value. Oops. Well, no, for some reason. Well, it should show me. It should show me. Okay. Well, what? Oh, it's because I see. It's because I'm looking at the wrong column. Okay. Well, basically, what you do is you create the calculation here, and you define it, right? You create the calculation and you define it. It's a standalone. What's going to be stored is just a single value. Okay. It's not going to be stored like it is a column, right? It's going to be stored as a single value. It's going to show in here. Okay. It's going to show in here. Well, you do a new calculation, and then you just define what you want this to be, right? So, yeah. Well, you can put, like, for example, you just drag and drop, right? Like income, right? And then you put average, right? Or you can just do this, average income, right? I did this. Let's see, what's gonna do it. Okay, oh, see this? Well, it says expression no valid because it does not know what I want, right? It does not know what I'm looking at. So, well, you can, yeah, you have to use that qualifier as I did before, okay? But in one of the videos, I showed you how to do that. This is going to be the standalone calculation because it's going to show only once, okay? Standalone calculation is going to show only once, okay? This is going to be the average. And what I expect to see is it just once, okay? Now, well, I can say average claim, right? Claim, and it's expected to show only once if I'm doing it right, okay? Okay, here it is. Well, do you see it, guys? It's here because I defined it as a standalone calculation. I don't want to store this value in every single row because I know that the overall average is the same, right? Okay, so this is a standalone. Calculations can be embedded and standalone. Well, just remember that part, okay? Well, there is also a video on advanced calculation where I'm showing you with a case statement, okay? Another thing that you can do is, well, this is a data group. When you have a numeric columns, you can do, in some books you find it called binning, in some books it's called discretization, okay? Well, here it's called the data group. You're gonna define the column, split the values into bin, if you will, okay? 5 bins is a default. And well, what I'm doing, let's pick the same field that I'm doing here. And what this will do, it will add new column. And let's see what I'm looking at in here. In the next slide, this is a number of policies. That's what I'm doing. Let's do it here now. Number of policies column. And if I have my data module open, right? This is a data module. If I don't see the column first, I can just type it, right? And this is a number of policies. Now what I'm gonna do is click here, and I can do create data group. See this? I click here, I create data group. It's gonna add another column, and it's by default, it's calling it number of policies group. And over here, I see it. Look, for the numeric columns, it's gonna try to discretize it. It's gonna try to bin it for me. I have 5 bins, which is 5 groups, which is a default, and it's gonna say, okay, if it's 8 and above, well, then call this, right? If it's 6 to 8, then do this, okay? Well, this is just the range border values. So see this. So if it's above 8, then it's gonna be 8 and above. If it's between 6 and 8, then it's going to be this, see? So basically, depending on where your value fall under, right? Depending on where in which range it fall under, it's going to be, you're going to see instead of the actual value, you're going to see this range. That's what is going to happen. It's going to add a new column. I'm going to click create. I'll keep it as is, but you can change the number of ranges and you can change the range boundaries if you need to. Let me see, create. What this will do, it will secretly add more than one column. And I think I may have spelled it out for you. Well, you have the old column number of policies and on a slide. So this is what I'm showing you. This is a bin number. So basically, every bin is numbered and there is a little typo on the page. It has to be 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well, if it's less than 3, then the value is falls in bin number 1, and then the original column. This shows the value in the original column and the bin that it falls into, right? For example, original column was 8, and it's going into bin number 5, which is labeled as 8 or above. So this label here is what it shows, right? Group names, this is what you actually see when you do analysis. Bin number is a hidden column, okay? Well, this is what happens when you do the binning for the numeric. If you do for the categoricals, yes, you may bin the categoricals, but there the groups are not defined for you. You need to define them, right? If you have a categorical, you have to define it. And I have a video where I'm showing you this in very details, okay? Well, but here what you'll do is for the categorical. So here I believe I'm using the column that I call the policy, right? I'm using the policy column as an input for this. So I need to find, I'm going to type the policy, right? I type the policy. Well, this is a column and I want to do this create a data group, but because this is a categorical, I have to define my groups, okay? And well, let's keep policy group. And I want to do this. I want to create a new group and I want to call this corporate, right? Then I want to create another group and I want to call it personal, right? Now what I have, well, over here, I have the values, right? I have a list of values that the column can take. I want to assign the values to the group. So what I do is I select the group, then I click on the value and I click on this arrow. That will add these values to this group, okay? Okay. Now, well, this here, what is left is what I have not grouped yet. Now I'm gonna go to personal, and to speed up, I believe I can select more than one at once and click on the arrow, right? So this is personal. Now I have to create one more group, right? New group, and I'm gonna call it as special. And what I'm going to do now is this. I'm gonna put this, right? Shift like this, and this will go to the, oops, I have to click on the arrow. This will go to the special, okay? So now I'm gonna save it, okay? Okay, well, this is gonna be my data group. And if I ever have to go back, I can always go back to edit if I need to, okay? This is policy. I believe I created policy group, right? So let's see. Oh, it's in here, I should see it. Okay, it should here, see this? This is a group. This is a column that I just added. And I can go to properties. I can do this here, view or edit. Oh, and by the way, this is what God created for me behind the scene. It wrote this code, it generated this code. We don't need to even look at, okay? This is too complex. Well, you just use the interface and generate it. But if you have to ever edit this, well, you just do edit data group. This is more user-friendly, right? Unless you really want to write code and unless you understand what this is doing, you may edit the code, but I mean, it's good enough to just do this and edit group, okay? Well, so now I hope it makes sense, right? It's a lot of information. I agree, but okay, now this is where I went a little bit out of order. I covered the spiral models before, so we can skip that. Okay. Well, one thing to remember is this: predictors below 10% are omitted, right? You can still specify which fields you want to use as drivers, which fields you don't want to use. Well, each driver is represented as a pin. Then you want to look at the blue pin that is closest to the center, because that column is going to be used as a first split in the decision tree. Okay. Well, here you can edit drivers, right? I'm showing you how to add remove certain drivers, right? Which what we did. Here, I just put driver analysis here. Well, I just go over sometimes in a slightly different order, because I think it's a little bit harder to absorb than other stuff. Okay. Well, so you have a one-way driver, two-way drivers, and combination. You will need to look at that for assignment 3, I think. Yes. Well, here is just how to read the decision tree. Okay, so each leaf node must have at least 25 rows. So when you traverse the tree, if you reach the leaf node, if you have less than 25 rows, you would have to merge the two nodes above it. Okay. And there is a limit. The limit is 36, no more than 36 nodes in the tree. This is how this method is implemented. Okay. Well, here is decision rules, right? We talked about that. We talked about the sunburst visualization. Well, but important that here, decision tree more like focuses on visualizing the rule itself, right? Like if else. Here, it's more visualizing the percentage of rules to which this rule applies, the percentage of the population rule, if you want to say, right? Percentage of the rows, percentage the population to which this rule applies, right? That's what it is. Well, next thing is a comparison card. This is, sometimes it copyrights, sometimes it doesn't, but well, let's see, let's do this. We're gonna save this. I'm going to exit this data module. Well, before we exit, take a look at this. Do you see these two groups we have, right? Well, and do you see this one? This is a hidden, right? This is a hidden. Do you see this? So now what I'll do is well, I don't want to do this. I'm just gonna do this, clear the search, right? I'm going to save it again. And now I'm going to close this, right? And I'm going to go back. How do I go back to my data exploration? Well, I see it here. I can just click on it. And it's going to reopen my data exploration. Now I want you to look here. Well, do you see this? What is this? This is a standalone calculations that I created. Well, what is this? This is a policy data group, right? Policy, this is a number of policies groups that I created, right? Then I have the average by state, and then I have annual premium. Those are the calculations that I created. They're available here. But important to see them in the data exploration, you have to close and reopen. You need to reopen the data exploration to be able to see the change, right? So the changes made to the data module will not be visible until you close and reopen the exploration. Important. This is important. You have to remember to reopen, because some people don't, and they say, where is my change? It's there, but just important steps that you need to do. Okay, now, well, let's look at something that I wanted to show you. Okay, well, this is marital status, right? Total claim amount by marital status. So I have this, and it's filtered. Well, what I could do, well, remember we talked about these filters that it's selectable filter, it can be turned on and off, right? So now I can remove it, right? Jesus, I can go remove filter. I remove the filter here. What I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to add another filter. But what I want to do is now this. I'm going to click here, and I believe there is a gender column, right? And the gender column stores if the person is a male or female. So let me find this. Unfortunately, there is no way to search. I got spoiled by the search. Huh? Here it is gender. Now here, when you move this, you want to make sure that you have local filter sync selected, right? Now, I want to set it to female, right? I want to set it to female intentionally. So this is my card. And I'm gonna look, see this, if I go back to my cards, this is where I am right now, right? And I'm going, this is what I'll do. I'm gonna copy this card. I'm gonna copy. Do you see this? I'm gonna do duplicate. Let's do duplicate. Okay, so here is one copy, and this is the other. In one copy, I want to keep gender as a male. I want to keep a male, and another one. So let's see. Look, I'm click on the filter. The first one I have female selected, right? Now I'm gonna do another one, and I'm going to select the male instead. So I'm going here, scrolling down to the filters area. See this? I click on this and I do the filter, and I'm gonna do the male and check female. So I have these two. Suppose that I want to compare how my total claim amount varies based on marital status, right? And also the gender. So I want to look at it side by side. So what can I do? Let's see. I can do this, right? And I can select these two at the same time. Then I click over here on the three little dots, and I'm gonna select compare. Well, what this allows me, I can compare these two visualizations side by side, right? I can select one data point here, and the same data point will be selected here. Okay, so this is here. I selected average claim amount for the divorce, right? And I can look at the same. I can look at average claim amount for males and for females, and I can do the comparison this way, right? This is called the comparison card. It's different from comparison data visualizations that you asked for in the first assignment, right? This is a comparison card, but what you asked to do in your assignment, if you ask to do in the last exercise of this assignment is due next week, what this is here. You click on choose type, and the last question is about this one. This is comparison. So for the last question, you need to select one of these. That's what it's doing. It's not asking for comparison cards that I just showed you. But last question in assignment, in this assignment, not assignment 2, but assignment due next week. Well, see this? You pick any of these. You pick any of these. Do visualization and explain what it shows. Okay? So this is a comparison visualization type, part of the whole, etc. And I believe one of your regions is on visualizations, okay? Now, so that's this. And, well, okay. Well, I have to show you, did I show you how to save it? Yes, I did. This is how to save. You need to select my content, right? Always save it in your content. Now, this is a gift. This is a gift for you, something special. And you can contribute to this also because, well, this is how it started. The student had a question, and sometimes it's very difficult to answer the question just by typing in the instruction. So I figured, okay, let me film the video to answer the questions. And I said, wait a minute, it would help to post the same video for the rest of the class, right? Because everybody might be interested. Oops, what is this? You want to skip this, right? Once you skip this, Jesus, this is a preview. This is a playlist. Sorry, this is a link that is in the classroom. And I created this nice playlist. And this is how you can contribute. You can say, hey, Yelena, can you give me an example of something, right? And I'm going to make a video and put it here, if it's possible, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you want to know how to do something and it's possible to do it. Then I'm going to create an example and put it for everybody, right? So for the first part of the class, you want to worry about everything up to the dashboard. Do not worry about the dashboard yet because we're going to do another class on this. But the first 17 apply to what we do now. Okay. So this is like a more in-depth because we cannot cover everything in the same session, right? Like missing values. I showed you how to do the numeric. This one here, there is a video on how to handle the categorical. So you can, and I'm using the same data. If you guys want to, at any time, if you want to follow along, this is what I did in here. So if you go back to the welcome page, team content, go back in here. Well, you have this assignment, this one data, right? Data, and there is this is a walkthrough data. I'm using this data set right here for this demonstration. It's this version that I'm using. You can always save a copy to your own content area if you want to follow along. You can practice too. Okay, so I gave you that information. Now I'm gonna be taking some questions if there are any. I mean, I understand it's a lot of information, but you'll need to watch this video more than once. It's a huge session. Next one will be a bit smaller. Okay. So, I mean, are there any questions or anything? Well, let's say this. What you're gonna do from here? As soon as you can, you're gonna test your access. Two things to check on. You can access, you can log into Cognos, and you can. The second thing is that you can see shared team content, right? Because if you don't see that, then there is a problem. There is something that I need to do on my end, okay? And I'll do it. Okay, if you don't see that, then there is something that I need to, okay. Okay, are queries an additional step? Well, yeah, yes. Well, queries, you're doing, well, we're not writing the queries as a code, but in the data exploration, you can, well, which queries are you referring to? I'm trying to understand. Because you can basically, what I was doing is that I was showing you how to use assistant, right? And I was showing you how to do the visualizations, right? So this is, well, this is in the exploration. We are not writing the SQL code in here. No, we're not doing it. We're not writing like actual SQL statements. We're not writing reports here. But we are using data module and data exploration for the first part. Next time, we're going to do the dashboards and stories. We focus on presentation rather here and analysis. Let me know, John, if I answered the question. And also, sorry in advance if I mispronounce anybody's name. Okay. So you have one name to remember, and I have more. Okay. Okay. Oh, you were working with join queries. Well, no problem. There are no such a thing as off-topic questions. They're excellent questions. We're not doing join queries in this class, but you have a plenty opportunity to work with joins in the upcoming courses where you work with multiple tables. In this course, things are simple to get started, right? So we keep it simple to get started, but I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities. No worries, no worries. All questions are excellent. I love questions. I love students who ask questions. So, I mean, as you go, as it goes along, you're gonna have a big opportunity to meet me because I'm a TA for mostly TA for Data 650 in addition to managing this application. So you might see me later on, and we're gonna have another session, right? Abel is a TA, but if the issue is related to the access, right, then he's gonna let me know too, and I'm gonna fix it. It's a no-brainer. Things like if you cannot see shared folders, you know, the team folder, easy fix, very easy. You wouldn't imagine it. So, okay. And since I know what an issue is, that's the thing. I have a solution, no worries. Okay, so you're gonna check it tonight and tell your classmates who could not attend that it's important. You don't want to wait until the last minute, right? Well, your questions will be answered. Everything, all tickets, cases are handled in the order that they were received in. But the thing is, you don't want to create stress for yourself, right? Just make sure it's working. Get it out of the way and then start working. You want to have more time for assignment too. Trust me, because it's a lot, you know, how things are. Don't wait until the last minute because there could be surprise, system down, power outage, you know. It's life, okay? So, well, what we're gonna do from here? Your task to check your login. My task is to take this recording and to give it to your instructors and also give the slides to your instructors. This is going to be my task, all right? So, it's a deal or no deal? don't be afraid to participate. I like participation. I like some interaction. Well, I know everybody is tired, but all right. So let me see. If there are no questions, then I'm going to end this session, and you're gonna have the recording, okay? So, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen, and I'm gonna end the recording. So, and I want and thank you guys for attending. Appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy using Cognos, right? So let me see. I'm gonna stop the recording. Okay.